Tragedy over the Potomac. A collision in the night. The night sky over Washington, D.C. was torn apart by a horrifying spectacle. An American Airlines jet, wings tipped with the lights of a city preparing for slumber, collided with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. The deafening roar of impact echoed across the Potomac River as both aircraft, transformed into fiery streaks against the darkness, plunged into the icy water below. This is the story of a tragedy that unfolded in the blink of an eye, leaving a nation in shock and a city grappling with unimaginable loss. Seconds to impact. The timeline unfolds. It was approximately 9 p.m. local time when the unthinkable occurred. American Airlines Flight 547, a Boeing 737, was on its final approach to runway 33 at Reagan National Airport. The flight, originating from Miami International Airport, carried the promise of home for weary travelers eager to reunite with loved ones. Simultaneously, a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter, engaged in a routine training exercise, cut through the night air, its rotors a familiar hum against the backdrop of the city's skyline. In a matter of seconds, these two seemingly disparate journeys would intersect in a horrifying moment of impact. The precise chain of events leading to the collision remains shrouded in uncertainty, a puzzle yet to be pieced together by investigators. What is clear, however, is that the two aircraft, traveling at high speed, collided in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. The Boeing 737, its fuselage ablaze, careened towards the Potomac, while the Black Hawk, its rotors mangled and silent, plummeted like a stone into the dark waters. Passengers in peril, hopes hanging by a thread. On board the ill-fated American Airlines Flight 547 were 60 passengers, a mix of business travelers, families returning from vacation, and individuals simply passing through the nation's capital. Each carried their own stories, their hopes, and their dreams, blissfully unaware that their journey would be cut tragically short. Responsible for their safe passage were 4 crew members, highly trained individuals dedicated to ensuring the well-being of those entrusted to their care. The U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter, a workhorse of military aviation, carried a crew of 3 U.S. Army soldiers. Their mission that night, likely routine in nature, now stands as a stark reminder of the inherent risks faced by those who serve in uniform. As the mangled wreckage of both aircraft settled on the riverbed, the fate of those on board hung precariously in the balance, a desperate race against time already underway.
A race against time. Rescue efforts underway. The chilling distress call crackled across emergency frequencies, a stark announcement of disaster that shattered the tranquility of the night. Within minutes, sirens wailed as first responders, their faces etched with grim determination, raced towards the scene. Rescue boats, lights cutting through the darkness, sliced through the frigid waters of the Potomac, their crews battling not only the elements, but also the agonizing knowledge that each passing second could mean the difference between life and death. Divers, clad in thick wetsuits and tethered to safety lines, plunged into the murky depths, their movements hampered by the bone-chilling cold and near-zero visibility. Overhead, helicopters with powerful spotlights transformed the night sky into an eerie tableau, illuminating the desperate search for survivors amidst a debris field of shattered fuselage, twisted metal, and personal belongings, grim reminders of the lives forever altered by this tragedy.
Nature's cruel hand, the icy grip of the Potomac. As if the daunting task of locating survivors amidst the wreckage wasn't enough, rescuers faced another formidable adversary, the unforgiving grip of a winter's night. The Potomac River, its surface reflecting the city lights just hours earlier, had transformed into a treacherous expanse of icy water, its temperature hovering just above freezing. The biting wind, carrying with it the sting of sleet and snow, hampered visibility and threatened to further chill the already frigid waters. Hypothermia, a silent killer, loomed large, threatening to claim the lives of any survivors fortunate enough to escape the initial impact. Every second spent in the icy water chipped away at their dwindling reserves of strength, making the task of the rescuers all the more urgent. The unforgiving cold served as a stark reminder that even in the heart of a bustling metropolis, nature's power could be swift and merciless.
The tranquility of the night was shattered by a sound that will forever be etched in the memories of those who witnessed the disaster. Eyewitnesses described a scene of sheer terror as the two aircraft, illuminated against the night sky, collided in a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar. It was like something out of a nightmare, recounted one visibly shaken onlooker, her voice trembling as she struggled to put the horrific scene into words. "I saw a bright orange fireball followed by a loud boom that shook my entire building," recounted another witness, his face pale with shock. "It all happened so fast. 1 minute the planes were there and the next, they were gone, swallowed by the darkness and the water." These harrowing accounts, raw and emotional, serve as stark reminders of the human toll exacted by this tragedy. A toll that extends far beyond the immediate victims to encompass the families, friends, and communities forever marked by this senseless loss. Senseless.
In the chaotic aftermath of the collision, Reagan National Airport, a symbol of connectivity and a gateway to the nation's capital, was thrust into a state of lockdown. The usual symphony of jet engines and announcements was replaced by an eerie silence, punctuated only by the wail of approaching emergency vehicles. Flights scheduled to land were diverted to nearby airports, their passengers left to grapple with the unsettling reality of their close call and the knowledge that for some, fate had dealt a much crueler hand. The ground stop at Reagan National, while necessary to facilitate rescue operations and secure the airspace, sent ripples of disruption throughout the region. Travel plans were thrown into disarray, business meetings were postponed, and families eagerly awaiting reunions were left in limbo. The airport, typically a hub of bustling activity, stood as a solemn reminder of the fragility of life and the indiscriminate nature of tragedy.
As dawn broke over a city still reeling from the previous night's events, officials from the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, and other relevant agencies converged on the crash site, their grim expressions a reflection of the task at hand. The investigation, complex and multifaceted, will seek to answer the many unanswered questions surrounding the collision. What were the final moments leading up to the impact? Were there any mechanical failures or human errors that contributed to the tragedy? Did weather conditions play a role in the disaster? These are just some of the questions that investigators will grapple with as they painstakingly piece together the events of that fateful night. Their findings critical not only for providing closure to the families of the victims, but also for preventing similar tragedies from occurring in the future.
The investigation into the mid-air collision over the Potomac River promises to be a long and arduous process, one that will require meticulous attention to detail, careful analysis of evidence, and a steadfast commitment to uncovering the truth. In the days, weeks, and months to come, the nation will mourn the victims, celebrate their lives, and offer comfort to those left behind. Yet, amidst the grief and the search for answers, it is essential to remember that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the human spirit possesses an indomitable will to persevere. The heroic efforts of the first responders, the outpouring of support from the community, and the unwavering dedication of the investigators all stand as testaments to the inherent goodness and resilience that define us as a people. The road ahead will be long and challenging, but by coming together, supporting one another, and honoring the memory of those we have lost, we can begin to heal and rebuild. And